Welcome to the Dropship Podcast, where you'll learn how to build and grow a high-ticket dropshipping business and hear stories from successful e-commerce entrepreneurs. Let's kick this thing off.
Hey, welcome to the Dropship Podcast. And today we don't actually have a solo episode, even though it's only John here for the intro. This has actually got me and Ben in it this episode, but it's an Ask Me Anything we did right after our Dropship Breakthru live event in Noosa, Australia. So we were both in the same room answering questions. Usually we do these, it's just me, it's just John answering questions. But for this one, we were both together for the first time ever doing an Ask Me Anything live, which was on Facebook at the time in one of our Facebook groups. We took some pre-submitted questions, we took some live questions, and coming up, you're going to hear the recording or watch the recording if you're on YouTube or watching this as a video episode on Spotify. And I must say, in the beginning, just bear with us. My mic, we had a new tech setup, a new audio setup, which you'll see featured in some upcoming podcast episodes, which was great, except we were just kind of testing it out. And so my mic was a little bit low for the first couple of questions here. So just bear with it if you start listening to this and you think, oh, wow, John, your mic sounds terrible. It's going to get better. It was just in the beginning of the episode, we worked out that it wasn't quite right, fixed it up a little bit, and so that audio will pick up nicely as the episode goes on. We took a whole bunch of fantastic questions from people in our audience. As always, these kind of episodes are lots of fun, and it was extra special to have Ben in the room with me doing this one. So without further ado, let's dive in to the live Facebook Ask Me Anything with myself and Ben on the show. I'm currently exploring this, being dropshipping, high-ticket dropshipping, as a side hustle while working my normal job to pay the bills. How did you know it was time to quit your day jobs and start high-ticket dropshipping full-time? What was that experience like? Do you remember? It was a while ago.
I'm happy to tell my story. I don't know if this will offer any advice, but I'll share my story. So mine was like a year and a half after I, quote unquote, got started, and about maybe 13 months after I got my first sale. And so I was, I built my first store. I bought it in the Facebook group. I think I talked about this before. I was struggling to call suppliers, and somebody had a few on board. So I bought his business when he was ill and wanted to get rid of it, thinking that would be my savior here. I wouldn't have to call suppliers. But the number one supplier dropped me the moment that I took over the business, and bought it for a whopping $400, by the way. Businesses who don't have sales and don't really have anything going are not really worth anything. So I paid $400. I got it, and they dropped me right away. I had to call suppliers. I ended up calling suppliers. I got my first sale in late April of 2015, and I ended up selling the business either right at the end of January or the beginning of February 2016. And so I'm on top of the world, right? I got basically 1 year's pay, so not a crazy payday, but that moment of my life, that's a crazy payday. That was a really good day. And I went and talked to my boss about it, and I said, I think I might quit and just go, live off this for a year while I build my next business. And they were like, how about you keep your insurance, which is expensive and annoying in America, to say the least. I know around the world people don't have to deal with that. They were like, how about you keep your insurance and work 2 days a week instead of 4 10s? We work 2 10s. They did, however, give me the first day of the week and the last day of the week. So like the last day for sure is not the day I wanted to work, Friday, till 1 a.m. But I accepted that. And so February, March, April, May, through that time period, I worked 2 days a week, and I became the shittiest employee that ever existed. I already have a big mouth. I have a lot of opinions, and I'm not afraid to say them, and I'm often right. And so that doesn't sit well in a work culture where you're expected to toe the line and obey. I'm not very good at that. And so, I ran my mouth a few times. I saw some things that were not cool happening, and I spoke up about them. And then my direct boss said some things that he was not supposed to say as well. And I spoke up about that. And he went to his mommy, who was the head HR girl in the whole building. And magically, I got fired the next day. And so, I was trying to do the right thing. I was speaking up like I normally do, but I was trying to do the right thing. And I remember when they pulled me into the office, the big HR, his name's John Murphy, which is hilarious because we have a John Murphy in our group. But he's a he was a command sergeant major. So there's very few of those in the armed forces. So he was a big wig. He came there. He's a giant dude, kind of intimidating. Also at the same time, really kind of annoying. I don't know how to explain it. But anyway, he sits me down in his office. It's him and my boss. And they say, literally word for word, they look right at me and it's like, I think you're having a little bit more fun doing that cute little internet thing anyway. So why don't you just go do that full time? That's how they fired me. And I'll never forget it to this day. But that's how I got fired, right? I didn't make this choice on my own. I think I would have actually struggled to make this choice. No matter the dollar amount I was making, there was definitely some fear of like, what if this goes away tomorrow? What if I'm not good enough to do this? What if I was a one-hit wonder and I can't pull this off again? And so I'm thankful that I stayed on 2 days a week and got some other things rolling before they, before Mama Bird kicked me out of the nest, if I'm honest. But I do remember that day leaving, and I drove to the lake where my mom's ashes are. And I just kind of sat there, and I remember wondering, why am I not scared right now? Why don't I really feel anything? And I kind of, honestly, I felt confident. I was not mad that I got fired. I was not worried about having to tell my wife. I just knew at that moment it was my time. And so, I encourage you, if you get any inkling of that feeling, like that's probably when you should execute on that notion, because the fear is just going to keep showing up. Even when I had that months, I was worried. But that allowed me to put my back against the wall and really get after it too. When you have no other options, you tend to work a little bit harder. You tend to do a little bit more than you were willing to do. I know I launched a new podcast around that time that drove some affiliate commissions. I partnered with somebody and we really scaled their business very quickly at that time. And so, my advice to you is like, where are you at in this journey? Do you have enough savings to float you for at least a year? That's what I would probably look for before I jump ship. Is your business bringing in 50%, 75, 100% of your income? Like, where are you at in that before I would make that decision? What about you, John? When did you make the jump?
So my story is a little bit different in that the jump wasn't suggested to me by my employer, but I actually gradually eased my way out, if you like. So when I started, I was definitely working full-time, commuting, all of that sort of thing, as I've told many times before on our podcast and that sort of thing. I actually, rather than quitting outright, the first thing I did was I negotiated with my boss to go and work part-time from home. And look, I was in a position where I could do that. It suited the type of job that I had. I had, been in that place for kind of like a decade. So I was, had a bit of seniority and that sort of thing. So, that might not be something that everyone can do, but work from home is much more common these days than it was 10 years ago when I did that, for sure. And so that enabled me to still maintain that wage, but obviously I never really worked full-time when I had a full-time job, because nobody really does. You're only really productive there usually for a few hours, but particularly...
At least in an office job,
Yeah, right, sorry. And so... I could kind of answer the phone for business and do a bit more in the business than when I was, trying to do those things in my lunch breaks and other breaks and that sort of thing and out of hours. And so then business kept growing at that point. And I jumped out completely, I think about 18 months in from memory, and just went full time on the business. I had a pretty good salary, so I wouldn't say the business was exactly replacing my salary at that point, but it wasn't far off. And so, I guess when is the right time to do that? It's really hard. It will depend on two things for me. One is your risk for appetite, your appetite for risk.
I got zero risk for my appetite.
I didn't get enough sleep last night. Sick kids. Anyway, so... because some people like to play it safer than others, and there's nothing wrong with that in a sense, but, you don't want to go all in if it's going to put you in financial strain and you don't like that. If you don't like that or you're not willing to deal with that, then it's not worth it. So I would definitely say, like, be aware of your, and it's not just yours as well. Like, if you've got a wife, if you're married, you've got a husband, you've got a partner, you're in some sort of living arrangement where other people depend on you, just remember that, you might be thinking of yourself when you decide to go all in, but you've got to think of those other people, like, because they have to be able to come along for you on that ride. Otherwise, trust me, you're going to end up in some uncomfortable situations in your personal life. if they're not along for the ride and you just go out and quit your job. But I mean, ideally have a bit of padding, right? Have a bit of runway, as they say, to me. And yeah, what that needs to be will depend entirely on your living circumstances. I'm not saying it's yeah, I don't know. Thanks for the point, Wayne. We're doing a new tech setup here, so hopefully it's getting me, but I'll lean in a little closer.
Yeah, and then, it's only using mine. How do you get direct feedback?
Yeah. Anyway, what was I saying? Have some padding. Like if it's straight, like, you know, cover your living expenses for 3 months. That's a good time to quit. 3 months, 6 months, whatever, and pay attention to where your business is at. But there's also a balancing act, right? I mean, you don't want to, if your business is growing, you know, sometimes you do have to make that leap to help your business keep growing.
It's a tough needle to thread.
It really is.
Because the advice I give you is my own belief of what think I'm capable of and the risk I'm willing to take. And John's might be a little different, and, you know, Sally's might be a little different. And so, you know, how comfortable are you to take that risk, knowing that, I don't know, there's an exercise. Do you remember the exercise in the 4-hour work week of, like, if you lost everything today, literally everything, like, how long would it take you to get back to where you are currently? And if you do that exercise, I bet the answer is not that long, like probably a couple months, right? If you lost your job today, if you lost your home, how long would it take you to go get a new job and a new place to live? And, like, it wouldn't be that long, right? And so, like, you have to weigh that in there as well. I'm not sure I know the right answer. I would hope who's ever asking this question, Matt, I believe, is you know, in a place where his business is driving income. If your business is driving income, then there's levers to pull, right? If you are at the place where there is no income and you're hoping I can sprint this business and get to a place where I'm going to be safe, like, that's a recipe for disaster. We were kind of talking about that before the call about something else. Just like, you can't force business to be in a hurry. Like, it's going to unfold as it unfolds as you do the work. And so if you force yourself into a corner, will you go faster? Sure. But, like, will it go fast enough for what you're dreaming in your head? I'm not sure of that.
Yep. Good answer.
Let us know how you get on, though. If you make the call, we want to know.
Hey, remember Holly? Yeah, episode 212. From $0 to $500,000 in 5 months. Holly is one of our best students, and you can hop on a call with her right now at dropshipbreakthru.com/call. If you're listening to this, I know you're thinking about starting your own high-ticket dropshipping business, and what better person to speak to than Holly, who is a shining example of what can be done starting your own business. So hop on a call with Holly, see if joining Dropship Breakthru is right for you. dropshipbreakthru.com/call.
Question: do you work with US suppliers or Chinese? When I tried to reach out to some suppliers, they're not interested in dropshipping. So Daniel, by a bit of background, it looks like he's doing low-ticket dropshipping right now, but he's thinking about doing high-ticket dropshipping. Hence the question, because, of course, low-ticket dropshipping probably primarily using Chinese suppliers, and that's definitely not what we do. So, Daniel, to answer your question, certainly while we're dropshipping, we only use US-based
Yeah, I don't think
suppliers.
your mic's working.
All right, let's get over here then.
We're going to try to share a mic. Let's see if that works better. Can you let us know in the comments here if that's working?
So we only use, US-based suppliers or suppliers that are based in your local country. So, I mean, if you're in Australia and you're running your business in Australia, you use suppliers based in Australia. If you're in the UK and you're running your business in the UK, you generally use suppliers who have their products based in the UK, although in that scenario, you may also get them from mainland Europe as well, and that's certainly a possibility. But, you know, close proximity. China, you know, for a number of reasons, that's not where you're looking to get high-ticket products, like literally for a number of reasons. But so local supplies, and then I guess, you know, like there could be any number of reasons why you're contacting suppliers and that's not currently working out for you with those local suppliers. I think there's definitely a way to do it, a way not to do it. There's some work you have to do before you do it. And, you know, I mean, some suppliers just say no always. I mean, if I've got a list of 20 suppliers for a particular niche I'm looking to go into, generally speaking, I'm going to expect to get some no's out of that many calls, and I'm going to get some yeses, and I'm going to get some maybes, and there's going to be some that I don't hear back from
At all, yeah.
right. And over the following sort of 6 months, I'm going to keep contacting some of those. Some of those no's are going to turn into yeses. Some of the ones I didn't hear back from are going to pick up the phone or answer my emails or whatever, and I'm going to move ahead with them. So, but yeah, that's the way we do it. That's the way our students in Dropship Breakthru do it. You may move with your high ticket dropshipping business at some point to producing your own branded products, right? And that at that point, China might be where you go to source those products and get them manufactured in quantities and shipped over in containers. And we heard from some people at our Dropship Breakthru live event recently who were doing just that here in Australia, and it's certainly something you can do in the US. So at that point, you might be looking at China, but for high ticket products, drop shipping, it's just way too risky a process. Drop shipping straight from China, shipping times aren't good enough. The risk of damages on international shipping is far higher. You have less quality control. The products will be unbranded, and generally speaking, particularly in the US, people buy a lot on brand in a lot of niches, and so you want the brands that people know. Which ties in really well to the marketing strategy we use for high-ticket dropshipping businesses as well. So there's a whole bunch of reasons why that's not something that's particularly viable.
Yeah, what's the context? I read that question earlier, and I'm not sure I quite know what's being asked there. Like, can you read it one more time?
Well, I believe Daniel's saying, I'm doing good with low ticket right now, but I think it's time to join the big boys to work with US suppliers or Chinese. When I tried to reach out to some suppliers, they're not interested in dropshipping.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, there's this, like John said, a specific way. You have to build a website first. You have to show them you're not just some fly-by-night seller. Like if you've been selling low-ticket stuff, no offense, but you're that fly-by-night seller that is just looking to flip some stuff. And so due to no shortage of gurus and on TikTok or anywhere else that are telling you, just find this product, arbitrage. Look, and I have no issue with hustle. I'm not trying to knock these guys. That's not what we're trying to build here. We're trying to build a real business. And so you have to set up a website, set yourself apart when you call these suppliers, let them know what you're trying to build. Again, you can learn all of this stuff inside of Dropship Breakthru. But more importantly, you have to be willing to build an asset. These people are looking for someone who's going to be a partner with them for a long time. And so if you don't exude that when you call, if you don't show, hey, I'm here to build a relationship with you, they're going to tell you to fuck off because, again, they're getting these calls literally every single day. And so you have to set yourself apart. We do so by building a website. I would encourage you to tell your story. I would encourage you to talk through what you're trying to build. I would encourage you to truly build a relationship with the person on the other end. That's what makes a difference in today's game. And then high ticket drop shipping from China just seems, man, that sounds like a recipe for disaster. Like I've imported stuff. You've imported stuff. The first one I've gotten when I've started my own brand, it was not what I was looking for. Even though I've done all the explanations, I've gotten all the good night baby messages from the Chinese supplier. Man, they say some weird stuff, by the way. And, we worked through everything we wanted and then they shipped it to me. And I'm like, that's bad, right? And so even if you think you know what you're looking for, you see it on AliExpress, you don't know what's showing up at the customer's house. And again, we're trying to actually serve our customers so that customer says, holy shit, I had a really good time with your business. I'm going to tell my friend about it. And so if you have no control over what product you're sending, which is what is happening when you drop ship from China, you have no idea what's showing up at the door. Likely it's not very good. They're probably going to talk bad about you. They're going to become an anti-marketer rather than a marketer for your business. And so when you're selling brands that you've definitely heard of in the United States, you know the quality, you know their reputation, you can go look them up. And it makes it a little bit easier for you to create a great experience for your customers so that they can say, hey, I bought this product and I bought it from this website, and go share and become a marketer for you.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for the question, Daniel. That was a good one. Next question is from Cassie. Thanks for the question, Cassie. From your experience, what's the most rewarding thing about high ticket dropshipping? What's the most frustrating / stressful? Yeah. Well, the second part of that question is certainly a lot easier to answer than the first.
I got an answer for the first.
Yeah. I mean, you answer the first, actually. I'm still thinking about that.
What is the most rewarding part? I'm just going to go right to it. It's the rewards, man. If you're in America, you just get so many benefits of doing this business model, right? So we have 2 cards we recommend: dropshipbreakthru.com/Amex, dropshipbreakthru.com/Capital One. And we recommend those 2 cards because you're going to spend a lot on ads. And so on the Amex, you put your ads on there, you get 4 times points. And then you can push those points. To me, it's Delta. You can also do American or United. Those points go a long way in airline miles. So I haven't flown anything but first class in years, like 7 years at this point, which is wild to even say out loud. My kids are spoiled too, right? So we all sit in first class. On the other side, you're going to put your cost of goods on the Capital One card. So if you do 100,000 in sales a month, you're probably going to have $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 in cost of goods. That's all going on a Capital One card, which spits off 2% cash back, which is a rebate, which is tax-free. Again, it's a rebate according to Capital One. And so you're just getting 2% back, put back into your pocket every single month. And so between your cost of goods and your Shopify subscription and everything else that you're spending on your business, the expenses turn into rewards. So I don't know if that's the most rewarding part, but it is the most fucking fun part. Like, I like to travel and I like to sit in comfort when I travel. I don't want to sit in the back and squeeze in and wait to get boarded and run out of fucking overhead bin space. I want to get into a seat that actually fits my big ass and like I can just sit comfortably, and they give you a nice meal. And if you drink, you can drink for free. So I enjoy the rewards. I enjoy what it spits off. I don't know if that's the most rewarding part, but that's literally in the word is reward. So that was the first thing that came to mind. I don't know. What do you got, John? What's rewarding about this?
Yeah, look, I mean, for me, I think, and for me, I guess, at our recent Dropship Breakthru Live here in Noosa, which we just wrapped up earlier this week, one of our speakers, Carla, did a little exercise where she asked everyone in the room to, think about the why. Why did they start why are they starting their business? Why did they start their business? And what are they looking to achieve? And, obviously I started my business, got into business a long time ago. It's 10 years this year coming up, 2024. And so thinking back to that, I think, certainly had probably a number of elements to the why did I start. Some of that was around getting better control over my time, obviously, being more in control of my life, not having to work a day job, not having the commute, all of that sort of stuff. And there were some other bits to it as well. And, I stopped and thought about it, and I thought, well, I achieved all of those things quite some time ago, actually. That's not a recent thing. And I mean, I can't think, it's hard for me to imagine any other business model that I'm aware of online where I would have done that in the way that I did it here and in the time frame that I did it here. I'm sure I probably could have worked something else out, but high ticket dropshipping was the thing for me. And so, that's the ultimate reward. The ultimate reward for me is that I achieved the things. High ticket dropshipping allowed me to achieve the things that I wanted to achieve when I started doing it. And yes, now I've got other goals and other things that I'm striving to achieve through dropshipping and other business models as well. But for me, I mean, that's the most rewarding thing, I think, for sure. What's the most frustrating thing? Well, there's definitely, I mean, dropshipping has its downsides, and they are frustrating downsides, right? I mean, you're not in control of various parts of the business. These are also an upside to these things as well. For me, though, the most frustrating part is probably either suppliers who have really terrible systems or fulfillment or chargebacks. I do find chargebacks. You have a great story of a chargeback, the lady in your town with the mobility scooter. I think that's the most frustrating thing. I'm not going to say it happens a lot, or it hasn't happened a lot to me, but those rare times where you absolutely know the customer got that product and they charged back and they won. And look, I'm not going to lie, it happens. It doesn't happen heaps, but it happens. That's super frustrating to me. I can't think of much else more frustrating than that.
I mean, now that I've thought about it, I'm going to give the same answer for both. So the most rewarding thing and the most frustrating thing for me has nothing to do with the business model itself. It has to do with something you've heard me say before, that entrepreneurship is the greatest self-development program you're going to go through. And so frustrating because you're going to run into your own bullshit over and over and over and over again. The only limit on your growth as an entrepreneur, as a high ticket drop shipper, as a mom, as a dad, as a brother, a sister, a parent, whatever it is for you, is between your ears. Like, the only thing stopping you from being whatever you want to be is you telling yourself you can't be that. And so you're going to continue bumping into these limits. I tell a story at our live event of speaking with one of our students. I won't name his name, but he knows who he is. And he reached out and he was like, "Hey, can I get on a call?" And he said, "I just hit 50K a month." And I said, "Great, that's great. So let's plan out your next year. Where are you going to go from here?" And his response was, "I think in 1 year I can get to 100K a month." And I just chuckled a little of like, that was the ceiling he was putting on himself. Because I know people in that industry that are doing $1 million a month, and it's not unheard of to do probably even more than that. Like, the products are easily available to do more than that. And so like, that was his stuff showing up for me. I ran into imposter syndrome. I still run into imposter syndrome. Like, it's kind of wild that we're sitting here on a live and, I don't even know how many people 12 people are watching. That's 12 people. Thank you. I don't know why you're watching me. That's amazing, right? I still have this imposter syndrome. I definitely had it all along the way. I definitely had I'm not worthy of this. I'm not good enough. I had fear of success because I thought it might ruin family relationships. I had fear of failure because I worried what people would think about me if this didn't work. I had all of the above, right? And so working through all of that was the most rewarding. It released me from all of this like anxiety and worry and fears in my head by working through all of that with a coach. I worked through it with Elliot Rowe. His coach, Valentina, is part of our course, Dropship Breakthru, now as well. She'll be in the course. If you want to work on that stuff too, you're going to have to work on it one way or another. But it was also the most frustrating because once you see that you are the one holding yourself back, that's infuriating. When you realize that it's not out of your control. Like, certainly for myself, early in the beginning, I definitely had that like scarcity victim mentality, right? It's somebody else's fault. I'm not getting there because of this, or this competitor is doing that. And in reality, is everything's your fault, everything. And so once I realized that it was all up to me, that was a little frustrating at first, and then rewarding once I worked through those limiting beliefs. And I still am. Like, it's been, I guess we're going on 9 years now, which is crazy, going into 2024. I'm still working through stuff every single day. There's something that I run into multiple times a month. And so like, whatever that is for you, I hope at first you realize it's frustrating, and then as you work through them, it's rewarding, and you break through that and get to have all of the other rewards that come with having a job, quote unquote job, or a business that allows you the freedom that entrepreneurship allows you.
Yeah. I wonder how many people get upset when you say it's all your fault. You know what I mean? Like, but it's true, and I think, if you're listening to this either live or sometime later, whenever we do something with the recording, if you hear Ben say that and you feel a lot of resistance to that, it means you've got work to do. The great thing about it being your fault is that means you've got control over changing that, right? When you blame somebody else, it's really you trying to say, well, it's out of my control. I can't do anything about it. But when you learn to accept that, the things that you don't like in your life, generally speaking, are your fault, it means there's a solution. There's something that you can do to turn that around. It's in your power.
Are you a fan of Tom Bilyeu?
I don't listen to Tom a lot, to be honest. So I'm nowhere near as much as you.
Yeah.
So I couldn't say.
Tom is big on this. Everything's your fault, right? And so he put it out there. Of course, the internet does what the internet does and finds like the one scenario where this might not be true. And then that says, this must all not be true because of one. So they brought up, what if you got hit by a drunk driver? And he's like, he fights back. And he literally said, like, of course, that's still your fault. Like, I get your point. The guy was drunk, but you were like, it's still your fault. And you have to accept that everything is your fault, or you will never move forward. Because as soon as you place blame elsewhere, you're pushing it away. You're pushing away from making the decision. It's your reaction to everything. It's your decision to do everything. It's your decision to wake up and like work hard or not work hard. It's your decision to sit on the couch and watch fucking Netflix rather than like build a business or spend time with your wife and kids. Everything is your fault. And like, that took a long time for me to get there. And that is very, what's the word of the day? Triggering to a lot of people to realize that everything's your fault. I don't know how else to say it. I wish there was a better way to say that phrase so that it made more sense, because you're in control of fucking everything. And the moment you think you're not in control, I challenge you to step back, take a breath, and go, how am I in control? So you might be saying, oh, I'm at this shitty job and they make me work these hours. I'll never be able to build a business. And you're saying that's their fault. No, that's your fault. You don't have to work there. Oh, I know, but I got to pay these. That's your fault. It's your fault that you have these fucking bills. Like, you have a choice to make this. Actually, you and I argued about this the other night. Like, I don't know whether starting a business is your right answer. That might not be your first step. Your first step might be to get to a place where you have the space and the freedom and the capacity in your mind to breathe for a second and to think about it. And that might mean you have to work your face off first. You might have to go mow some lawns or shovel some driveways or go to the dollar store and flip some shit on eBay in order to give yourself the breathing room. I know for me, it was financial, right? In the beginning, where I had to give myself a little financial breathing room. I did that by taking on more debt. Probably not the right fucking answer, but it allowed me the space to like work my face off. And really, I had to give up some fucking Call of Duty time. So it was my fault. I said I didn't have time. Well, in reality, I just enjoyed playing Call of Duty for 4 hours a night when I got home from work, right? And so, like, I don't know. It's all your fault. I wish there was I was more articulate in expressing what that truly means. But once you embody that and realize that you are in control of every fucking aspect of your life, you don't need. It's not someone else's fault. You don't need the fucking government to come save you or print you another fucking check. Like, you're in control of this. And like, the moment you own that, your life will change. It'll truly fucking change.
Yeah, I think, I'd probably put a little bit of nuance onto the end of that using the example of the drunk driver. I mean, I think the reason why you say, regardless, everything's your fault is because when it comes to those sort of approaches to life, you can't kind of have it one way and the other way sometimes, because the minute you say, well, that's somebody else's fault, then it becomes easier for you mentally to say other things are somebody else's fault. And it's kind of like one of those slippery slope things. So if you just accept it in that black and white way, like it is, it just all is. I think even if in reality, I'm not even going to say it, but like even if you went a little bit the other way and you use the example of the drunk driver, like what you do next is 100% your fault. So in that scenario, a lot of people will be like, oh, well, I'm just going to go and drink, or I'm going to just, let it. Sorry, Carla, you're the best, Carla. Carla was there when we had a discussion similar to this the other night at a restaurant. Well done, Carla. I think you get hit by a drunk driver. It would really suck. A lot of people are going to let that significantly affect their life in a not great way. And they're going to be like, well, it's not my fault I'm going down this slippery slope.
Right.
At that point, it is. Right? It really is. You have a choice. You always have a choice. Even if you feel like you don't have a choice, what you're really thinking is, I have a choice, but I really don't like the choices. You still have that choice. And sometimes you have to make the choice you really don't like.
Carla, it appears I won John over. Just so we're clear, I've officially won this argument.
No, never. All right, let's move along a little bit. We've got another question here, and for anybody who's watching, ask some more questions, or you're listening in. This is your chance. Otherwise, this is the last one. I can't see who asked this. Actually, it's not showing me the name, but the question was, how many products should you launch with? So you're setting up a high-ticket dropshipping business. You're calling suppliers. You're going to get some early yeses from some suppliers in your niche. They're going to give you access to their products. You upload them to your store. How many should you launch with? The answer is that there's no magic number, but for a lot of people, I think it's sooner than you think, right? So you don't need a lot of products to launch your business. You don't need a lot of suppliers to launch your business. You need some, certainly. But the reality is, in the beginning, your first marketing channel is going to be Google Shopping, right? That's the quickest way to get traffic to your site, make your first sales, learn a little bit do a bit of customer service, learn some more about your business, see where your popular products might be or the things that people are looking for, and just get used to your market. And so when you're running Google Shopping ads, the customer is just coming to a product page. They're not there to look through your whole site. They're there because they saw an ad for one product and they're saying, yeah, I'm interested in that product. Or maybe they were searching for that exact product. That's what we try to target in the beginning. And so they're going to your product page and they're going to make a decision on that page as to whether, that it is the right product for them, whether your business is the right business for them to purchase it from, and to take the next step. They might call you up. They might, do a bit of customer service or whatever. But what they're not really doing at that point is looking through your whole site and going, oh, there's not, like, customers don't think on a site, oh, there's just not enough products here, right? But not when they're coming to look at that one product. Later down the track, you're going to get traffic that's further up the sales funnel, as we say, like if you sell microphones, you might in the beginning have somebody who's looking to come and buy this particular microphone. Down the track, you might have traffic that's coming to look for microphones, right? And at that point, it is cool to have a bit more of a range because different customers might be looking for products with different features and benefits and outcomes, different price ranges within your market. But you don't need that right at the beginning. So the answer is, if you've got 3, 4, 5 suppliers on board, you can launch your store. You should keep trying to get more products after that. I think, and sometimes that's the mistake people sometimes make, is they launch with a smaller number of suppliers and then they kind of stop. They get really invested into their Google ads and they're, start focusing more on the marketing, and they forget that they actually need to keep getting brands and get more supplies and get more products on your store. Yeah. So don't make that mistake. But hey, the sooner you can get out and make a couple of sales, which really changes your whole outlook on the business, it gives you that massive boost when you see that it can happen, that it works. You have more confidence in yourself and your business. The sooner you can do that, in my view, the better, really.
I think I'm going to go a little contrarian here. I think I'd probably give you the step-by-step process, right? So get one brand up, set your Google shopping up appropriately, set up dynamic remarketing on Google, which should take you 5 minutes, set up DPAs on Facebook, which should take you another 5 minutes, and pay a developer on Upwork or Fiverr $50 to make your phone number jump off the fucking screen, and then launch. That's what I would say. I think you can launch with one supplier. Again, people are only coming directly to the product page. If you set your ads up appropriately, you're only getting really targeted traffic. So those people should be ready to buy or close to buy, and you want to get them on the phone and close them. And like John said, when you get that first sale, it's going to change your life. It literally is going to change it. You're going to have a completely new outlook on what life could be, what this business could be. You're going to see money come to you while you're not working, and it's going to get extremely motivating to you as well. And so, yeah, I think if you have a little bit, so I always picture the guy. Maybe you guys don't see this in Australia, but there's the TV infomercials, right? And one of them is I don't remember what it's called, but it's this leaking bucket of stuff, and he just slaps the thing on there, and it stops the water from leaking. It looks like duct tape, and then he builds a boat out of it. And look, it doesn't leak. That's what I picture. That you have to fill a couple holes, just a couple holes, because if you just launch and you drive traffic, maybe you'll get some sales. I'm not saying you won't, but the idea that someone's going to one click and buy is ridiculous. I think that's a fallacy that everyone has. It happens, but it doesn't happen a lot in high ticket. You need to continue having touch points with that customer. So if you can set up some very simple remarketing on both Google and on Facebook, and then flip your ads on to those products and make your phone number prominent so people give you a call, I think that's when I would launch. The reality is everyone gets suspended nowadays. And I don't mean everyone, probably 80% of people get suspended. You have to prove yourself innocent, it feels like, to Google. And maybe that's just my own bias of seeing how many people get suspended nowadays. I have an account that's suspended. And so you got to get through that process anyway. Get your Merchant Center set up. Get your feed pushed through there. Fix all the errors that are happening in Merchant Center. Get your Google ads set up. You might get an issue from Google. I know they had an issue with my logo, which is wild. It's 2 letters, and they had an issue with it. And so, get through all of the hiccups that are coming. So don't delay the launch just to launch and then get hiccups and have to work through that, because then you're gonna be I just got over this huge hump, which is all mental, by the way. You just got over this huge hump and finally actually turned this stuff on. And now Google, kind of shoves you back to the ground and goes, "You sure you want to get up?" You know what I mean? There's going to be a lot of things that convince you this is too hard and you should quit. And that's one of them, in my opinion. I've watched too many people just stop going at that point. And so I would just go through it all. What's the worst that happens? You spend $50, $100 on ads. If you have one brand and you flip on ads, probably not going to spend that much, right? Google just won't, let alone you're new. They don't like you anyway. It's going to take a little bit for them to spend you. And so I would go sooner than later. That's my opinion on that. Yeah. Do you think you want to answer this question here?
Yeah. Sure.
All right, I'll ask it. Robert Ritter says, I am starting a website in Canada, and I live in Canada. My question is, to get more suppliers with brands that are known in my niche, should I dropship from USA as well as Canada? I'm concerned about the border fees and time it takes to ship to my customer's house, which might make my customers not want to buy from my site. What do you guys think? I would tell you to fuck around and find out. That's my absolute answer. I know plenty of people in Canada who only ship from Canada distributors. So it's very much that the products need to get to Canada, and then from there they get dispersed. In fact, I was part of a company where we were the distributor in Canada for a brand, and we were in the States, which is even weirder. They just didn't want to deal with it. So I would encourage you to try to find the distributors in Canada first. That'll make your life easier, albeit you'll have a little lesser margins, but the products are already there. They don't have to cross the border. They don't have to get there. Second, I would talk to the brand that you're considering adding. If they don't have a presence in Canada, tell them that you'll be the distributor in Canada. Find a 3PL at which you can store these things and offer to be their distributor. That's all we did with one of the brands we had. We sent a container up to a 3PL in Canada and then shipped them from there as Canada orders came in. It was not that difficult. We had retail chains buying from this. I know this probably sounds daunting in the beginning. It's not super difficult, but it is a real opportunity when you're in Canada. I think shipping cross borders, you're right, you're going to run into headaches from customers who aren't willing to wait. But at the same time, you're also going to make a bunch of orders because no one else is selling this either, right? And so if you can express on your product page, this is going to take a little while. There might be some extra fees added here because it's coming from the United States. I think everyone in Canada has dealt with that before, and they're going to see, oh, yeah, this is the process it takes to get here from Minnesota to Toronto. It's got to go through customs. There has to be some fees added to it. And so I don't think it's as much of a red flag to your customers as you think, especially when they're used to that in Canada. I don't know if you have any advice, John. You deal with this a little more than I do in Australia.
Yeah, look, I mean, I don't disagree with anything you said there, Ben. I would probably say if nobody else is like, if those brands that you're looking at getting from the US are not like warehoused like in Canada already by a distributor or by the brand themselves, and they can only come to there from the US, the element I wouldn't worry too much about is the time, right? Because if customers really want those products and they can only come from the US, then nobody else is going to be selling them at a shorter shipping time frame than you. And that's really what the customer cares about. A lot of customers will wait for products, particularly high ticket products, if it's a product they really want. So if you're in an enthusiast niche or something like that, I would worry less about the time frames on that. It's not really, in the grand scheme of things, going to be that long anyway. I mean, US and Canada are right next to each other. It's not like shipping from China to the US or from Europe to the US or something like that. Whether there's customs or border fees, that sort of thing, I mean, that might be another scenario. But once again, like, call the suppliers. They'll tell you about that. If you've got brands in the US who are interested, they've probably sold products to people in Canada, so they can tell you, like, this is how it works. So I would just, like Ben says, fuck about and find out, or whatever you're saying is fuck around and find out. Just give it a go. Like, there's not really much to lose there. And like Ben said, it might actually open up some doors to you to do some things in Canada that nobody else is doing for customers there, which could grow your business even quicker. So thanks for that question, Robert. Nice one. Next question that Andrew Monson. Thank you for your question, Andrew. Andrew's question is, how many stores do each of you have? What are your goals for 2024? Jeez, I like that you think that we've thought about our goals for 2024 in depth at this point. Andrew, yeah, that is kind of what Ben and I are doing here. So I don't know if you want to answer that individually or jointly. Some of it is joint. Yeah. So Ben and I have either own or have an interest in 5 stores jointly. I have an interest in one separately to that, and Ben, you've got another one separately to that as well. So in total between us, I think that's 7. We're looking at getting into maybe some more as well in 2024. So I think we've certainly got some potential businesses that we're looking at for 2024 that we might join or start from scratch in one instance, potentially with a partner. So, you could probably put those in potentially in the list of goals for 2024. Look, I mean, there's probably, what are the goals for 2024? Certainly, like I said, Ben's over here in Australia at the moment, and part of what we're doing is talking through what our goals are and what we're looking to achieve and what we'd like to hit in 2024. Certainly, one of the things that we have discussed quite a bit in detail is we're going to be doing a lot in the Dropship Breakthru program. So for our students, there is a ton of new content coming there, both things that are being updated in there, and there's a lot that's going to go in there that's not in there right now. I think. So some cool things. We're doing redoing our whole SEO approach. Ben's going to put in some new stuff in there on the SEO front. Leighton Taylor, one of the guys who's already in there, who teaches some technical SEO stuff. We're going to look at getting him to put some more website-based stuff in there. Valentina, mindset coach who we've talked about on our podcast a lot. She's going to come in and do a mindset module for us, hopefully. And then there's just a whole bunch of stuff that's going to get updated: Google Ads, retargeting, email marketing, some of our website design stuff, GA, Google Analytics 4, and data analytics stuff. So there's really a really good list, and a lot of this is going to happen pretty early in the year. We're also there. We've just introduced our own coaches. So we've got a coaching team now, which is growing. At the moment, we've got coaches based in the UK, the US, Australia. Now we're just kind of sorting that out. And John Murphy, who's kind of like an international coach, if you like. He's in Italy, but does business in the US, and he's from Ireland. So we're growing out that, and I think the support that we'll be able to offer students is going to dramatically increase in 2024 as well. And there's a lot of new, we've talked about things like having guests come and do group coaching every now and then on like subject matter experts. And the coaches. So, I mean, there's a lot of great stuff coming to that program in 2024. So I can certainly say that's one of our goals, is to complete that. Obviously, a goal is always to continue growing our businesses. So all the high-ticket dropshipping businesses we're involved with, I mean, we've got plans in place to grow those through 2024. That's I think always the case. But see where we can take it. I don't know. What do you want to add to that?
First, I want to make sure we reiterate. We get a lot of questions of I have one store. When should I start my second? I should have 4 of these. And so I want to be clear that the stores John and I have, we're not operating. So if you're operating a business and you're running the whole thing, the idea that you shouldn't scale that store and you should instead open a second is silly. You should scale the one you're working on. 100%, yeah. So John and I own a couple together. One of them is basically just used for the course at this point. I might try some unique SEO stuff on there and just share it with you guys because I don't really care. One of them we own together, and we are currently looking for an operator here in Australia. It's an Australian store. 3 of those we have partners on. John and I are a minority partner, and there's 3 operators in place. And the ones we're looking at moving forward are the same. John and I would come in as minority owners and help with strategy and help with advising and help with the goals of the business, getting there faster. But there's an operator in place. And so it's not like John and I have 7 stores and every day we're answering phones and emails, and it would be impossible, right? So, and then the one I have, I don't know what John's looks like on his own. The one I have on my own, my best friend came to me in 2020 saying he wanted a new life and came to work for me for peanuts and built the whole thing. And I gave him half ownership after the first year because he fucking earned it. He built the whole thing. And so he operates that. He handles the customer service, things like that. We outsource a lot of the other stuff as well. And so I'm not directly involved day to day. I'd go insane. I don't know how anybody could possibly have multiple stores and not go insane. And so I would encourage you, when you're hearing us talk about this, make sure that that's what you're thinking of too. Not I should launch another store. Your path to growth is growing your current business and pulling the bigger levers that are in your business that's already making revenue rather than making more. I would say when it comes to goals, I'm consolidating a little bit. So I have other things going on that I'm going to consolidate so that I have more time to focus just on dropshipping. I'm really fucking good at high ticket dropshipping. And so the more people I can impact in the course by giving more of myself to the course, as you mentioned, get the SEO stuff in there. I think there's a bunch of other things I'd like to get in the course over the course of the year. The more I can put focus on my businesses, my partners' businesses, those levers are much bigger to pull as well than some of the other things that I've been doing. And believe me, I still like to screw around. I still like to have a few things that are, weekend fun or late at night fun kind of things. But I want to focus more on the high ticket dropshipping. And to John's point, I'm shocked you didn't mention this. With all this new stuff going in the course, we are going to have to raise prices. There's no question about it. With the new SEO stuff, with Valentina, Leighton, the coaches, the GA4, the Google ads, the everything that we're putting in the course. This course is going to get bigger and bigger over time. And so if you've been sitting on the fence, if you're watching this live, if you're listening to this podcast, here's your first warning. You got till the end of the year to get in. You should hop in now before we are inevitably going to have to raise prices just to continue bringing more and more value to this course.
Yep. Yeah, cool. I mean, I'd like to echo what Ben said about the question about how many stores we own. I mean, that question comes up a lot, and I suppose I can imagine why. How many stores you own is not an important question, really, to me. And certainly if you're curious, sure. But like, I mean, would it make a difference if I said 1 or 10 or 20? Like, what difference would that make?
I think it's important that you said at least 1. There's some other fucking gurus in this space that it's 0, and they haven't had it for fucking years, and they're teaching this business model, and they don't know what the fuck they're doing anymore. But I don't think they knew what they were doing in the first place. And so the fact that we're still working in these businesses and doing shit and growing businesses, I think does set us apart from some of the other air quote gurus that are out there.
Absolutely.
Sorry for the rant.
No, that's fine. It's very true, and I can think of some going around at the moment where that's the case, to be sure. Yeah, I would say if you're operating, you should definitely focus on one business. It is like opening multiple stores is definitely a trap. I want to echo that as well. It's a big trap. If you haven't maximized the potential of one store, it is way easier to scale one store than try and grow, 2 or 3 or 4 stores to the same level. Like that takes a lot, actually. There's, so much duplication, so much splitting of focus, all of that sort of thing, which is actually not, you don't do diversification until you've really nailed at least one thing. Like, honestly, that's diversification can be a good thing in business or just in investments or whatever, but it's not at the start. Anyone who talks about diversification, they're already really successful. That's why they do diversification. But in the beginning, you really want to, focus on one thing and just absolutely nail that one thing. And then when you've done that, if you do that, think about, well, where can I take the money that's producing, because it'll be producing money if you really nail it. Where can I take some of that and reinvest it into, building out a portfolio or building out a bit of an empire or whatever. And that's totally cool at that point, I think. So thanks, Robert, for your question and for being here. Daniel Walker, nice to see you, Daniel. Daniel asks, I've currently got a site in New Zealand that isn't a dropshipping site. Competition in NZ and even their websites look to be lagging behind the rest of the world by about 10 years. Have any of you tried the high-ticket dropship method in New Zealand? I probably agree with you, Daniel. If Australia is anything to go by, I would imagine that the online space in New Zealand is a little bit behind the rest of the world.
What's the population of New Zealand?
I think it's about 4 million. Did I get that right? No. 5.2 million as of 2023. Sorry, New Zealanders, I underestimated you there.
That's like a Minneapolis.
Yeah. So, yes, I do know, obviously, we don't come across a lot of people in New Zealand just because, it is compared to the other countries where we have students and that sort of thing, it is a significantly smaller population. Having said that, I do know of a few people who are in our membership that are giving it a go there. And certainly there is no reason you couldn't. Yep, there's going to be a cap on how big that business can grow there. But once again, competition I think is very low. And so you can probably go with a broader site than you might. You'd have to. But are there people, if you've already got a business there, right, and you're selling stuff in New Zealand already and you have the ability to do that, why wouldn't you add some dropshipping products alongside of that if it makes sense? Like if there's some product over there that could be dropshipped to your market that you're not currently warehousing or whatever you're doing there, yeah, sure, I would. There's definitely customers there. There's people there who are buying things online. And so you can sell to them, but are you going to grow the same size business as you might in another country selling the same range of products? No, obviously not.
Do you guys ship into New Zealand from here when you have Australian stores?
No, you would if a customer requested it, but there's going to be, extra costs there. The currency isn't exactly the same either. There's a few factors. They have
so ignorant. I don't fucking know that.
They have their own dollar, of course, and all of that sort of thing. So, once again, you could do that if, like same question that we had earlier from the fella in Canada. If there's people in New Zealand who want an Australian product and nobody's sending it over there, you could do that, right? For sure. There's some considerations, absolutely, but you can do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you'd have to open the everything store, I think. Like, what choice do you have other than selling it? Like, because you're going to have to get, I would assume, and I'm just assuming here, so tell me if I'm an idiot, but you'd have to get things into New Zealand, right? So like there's going to be a cost associated with that. And so if you're going to house them there, right, you might drop ship it first. If you're going to house them there, you're going to get them in there. And like you would have to sell, in my opinion, I think you'd have to sell a lot of stuff. It's 5 million people, right? So like I live right near Minneapolis, Minnesota. That metro area is 5 million people. That's not a lot of people, but it's also not a very minimal amount of people either. You would just, if you're like, imagine if you're just selling pellet grills. Like how many people in that 5 million realistically want a pellet grill? Maybe if you're the only source and you're gobbling up all the sales, like that would be a meaningful business. But I assume you're not the only one there, right? And even if they're lagging behind, you're still not taking 100% market share. And so you'd have to take, 20% of this market share, 20% of this market share. You'd have to spread yourself out, right? So you'd almost need an entire backyard. You'd have to sell pergolas and pellet grills and fire pits and, decorations and heaters. I don't even know if it gets cold there or not. I have no idea. And regular grills and pizza ovens. You'd have to sell everything, where I don't think I would recommend possibly doing that, especially in America. I think that would be a lot to take on initially in the beginning. But in a population of 5 million, you'd have to. I don't see how you could avoid it. But certainly, Daniel, if you're already there, you have a leg up. Throw some products up and find out. Again, my favorite new word, fuck around and find out. Pick a product where you think you have a real advantage. You know me, I love SEO. I would go find one where there's not really any competition there for the product, and more importantly, the category, and then maybe a couple long tails, like when they're comparing categories in New Zealand. And then I would throw just that up and find out whether I can move anything there. Is there profit to be had when I drop ship these in here? Are people willing to wait while this gets through New Zealand customs, which I assume is a thing? Those are the questions I would try to answer. But I would test. What do you have to lose?
Yep. Cool. Good question. Good answer. Pierre. Hello, Pierre. Thanks for joining us. We've just been hanging out with a couple of French guys for a few days. Oh, man. Good. Pierre asks, I imagine both of you are presented with an abundance of opportunities, dropshipping or otherwise. How do you pick which ones to take on? Look, I wouldn't describe it as an abundance all the time, but certainly we in recent times have been a little bit more proactive than we were in the beginning about seeking out other opportunities, which are not things that we've started. And so partnering with people has been mentioned a couple of questions back. And so I think if those sort of things come to us, or when we're seeking them proactively, and somebody's like, I'd love to have Ben and John in my business helping me to grow this thing. The number one thing for us, I think, is the person. The person is the person that we're going to, or people that we're going to be working with. Like, do we like them?
This is the same as what you should be thinking about when you open your business. Is the person you're wanting to serve someone you actually want to fucking hang out with all the time? Because you're going to deal with them every single day. And so the same is with partners. Like, we're essentially getting married. I like John. I don't like him as much to get married, although, whatever, he's cute. But like, our partners have to be someone we can get along with every single day. And more importantly is like values. Do we share the same values? Do we have the same timeline in our heads? That's what I think of in partners, but you should be thinking of this in your dropship store too. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go listen to Ben's Big L. It's an episode we put out where I chased the dollars instead of chasing the human, and I paid dearly for, serving the wrong human. And so we do the same thing in partnerships. Just like try to find somebody we want to hang out with, because if we don't want to hang out with you, what are the odds we're going to be good business partners? Probably not very good.
Yeah. So that really doesn't matter how good the opportunity is there. If we don't like, if our values don't align, or if we just don't like the people involved,
weird.
we're not going to be going there.
The second there, look, I'll talk a little bit while you try to solve this camera issue here. I think for me, when it comes to the opportunities, first off, I want to explain that the opportunities are coming not only because we're putting ourselves out there and we have a course. For me, the opportunities came by putting myself out there outside of this, like going to events. So like every event I go to, there's no shortage of people who want to do business together. If you put yourself where luck can find you, luck will find you. And so, the opportunities come by making myself available to that. So I want to get that straight for you. You can have opportunities available to you as well. In the beginning, I was putting out a podcast talking about my dropshipping journey and affiliate marketing, the course I took. For those of you who are listening, you could do the same thing for Dropship Breakthru, and we'd pay you handsomely in those affiliate commissions. And so like luck could find you that way. Opportunities will find you that way. But now that they have found us, how do we actually determine? So I think that's more of your question. For me, at this point in my career, it's more how do I make a good decision that I can have the most impact in the least amount of time? And not because I'm looking to serve the least amount of time. More time is super valuable. I want to spend time with my kid. I want to spend time doing things I want to do. I want to spend time with my wife. And I want to make the biggest impact possible. I want to know laying on my deathbed that I gave it everything I had, and I gave it in areas that actually made sense. So early on in my journey, I took every opportunity. I poured everything I had into it. I let all my insecurities show as I just gave everything I possibly had in every area and burned myself out. And certainly I made a few dollars, and that allowed me to get into a new position where I could spend those dollars on honestly fucking therapy, working through all my stuff with Elliot Rowe. And that brought me to a place of like wondering what is this life about? What am I doing? And that led me to a place where impact is what I really wanted. And so you have to find that North Star. For me, it's impact. Where can I make the biggest impact? In Dropship Breakthru, that's literally changing people's lives. That's helping people start their own business, change their mindset, move into a new reality outside of the one they're currently living in. E-commerce changed my life, and I want that for everybody listening to this. And so that's my impact. When it comes to the businesses we're creating, I want to be working with somebody who I want to spend a lot of time with products that are interesting, that are also making an impact if possible. Because again, the more impact I can make, the more rewarding that is deep down inside. And so my values reflect my decisions, and I hope you find your North Star and can set that up for yourself too. I hope that makes sense. I'm sure I could really put some thought into this and give a much better explanation, but that's less so about opportunity when it comes to dollars and more on impact for me.
Yeah. I don't think at this point it's really ever about dollars. I mean, you obviously pay attention to the opportunity financially, but I mean, that's not going to be the biggest thing. So thanks for that question. So there's a question I'm going to put together here. One from Andrew Monson, one from Jason Stevens. Jason very simply asks, hey guys, if we are current students, will we have access to the new content? The answer to that is always yes. Everything we sell is lifetime access. So if you have access to a course for a lifetime, that includes all future updates, except for the elite membership. So if we add new things to our recurring membership, which is our elite membership, which is currently $97 a month, you have to be in that membership to get anything that's added to that. If you're not paying that, you don't get access to it. Now, associated with that, Andrew asks, with all of the new material that's going into the course, should people that are designing their sites hold off until the new material is in the course or continue with what is now available? You should absolutely. There is literally no reason you should not build your business right now. There is no reason you should stop once you start ever. Like a course being updated is not enough to slow you down. Like momentum and progress almost over everything, right? Because things never have to be perfect to make money. Like I know in the beginning it might be hard to see that or understand that, but literally, little design tweaks or things like that, it's not a big deal. We're still going to be using the Superstore theme in the updates. The changes to things that are being updated are not significant. Like, as in, it's just like the Shopify interface looks different now. We need to update it so that people can follow along with the course material effectively. Leighton Taylor is ideally going to add in some more advanced Shopify stuff. But once again, it's not going to be things that you need to do when you first set up your website. So
even if it is, you could still get there.
Yeah,
like if you have to go back and fix a few things because I taught SEO differently, or John showed you a new trick in Google Ads, that shouldn't stop you from like doing the work and getting going right now. So like go there, make sales. And if you have to come back and fix something, smile about it. Don't like be pissed off. Be like, hell yeah, I get to go make this even better. Like don't sit there and wait for it to be perfect before you launch. I would encourage you to just go as fast as you can. And you might run into some hiccups, which is exactly why we're fixing this stuff, right? You might run into a section that John's teaching where it's an old interface and you might have to like realize, hey, it's an old interface, I have to adjust this or this. That's what we're fixing, as well as hopefully putting as much new knowledge as we can in the course. But none of this stuff should stop you from starting now. We've had hundreds of students go through the course as it currently stands and build successful businesses, and so you should too. And then if you can make it better with the new content, hell fucking yeah. Like that's our goal, right? Just continually help people improve. Cool. I think that's it.
Yeah. Looks like all the questions. Wow, that's sending some good questions, everybody. Thanks for hopping on. Thanks for asking your questions. This has been super fun, despite a couple of little tech glitches, to do this with Ben in person. Doesn't happen often for us, at least at this point. So hopefully we'll be able to get on again in the future, the two of us. I'm sure it's going to happen a couple of times next year. For sure. That's part of our plan for 2024 is there'll probably be a couple more live events that get announced at some point in the not too distant future, hopefully.
Yeah. Presale starts now.
No, but as always, as Ben mentioned, 1st of January, the price of the Dropship Breakthru course is going to go up. So if you are watching, you've been thinking about joining, you haven't done that yet, absolutely get in before the end of the year. Or book a call with Holly. You can just go to dropshipbreakthru.com/call if you want to learn more. Once again, thanks for being here, and we'll see you in the group soon.
Thanks for listening to the Dropship Podcast. You can find all the show notes for this episode at dropshippodcast.com. And if you're ready to take the next step in your dropshipping journey, we invite you to join us inside Dropship Breakthru, where John and I will walk you through step-by-step in starting your own high-ticket dropshipping e-commerce business. But that's not all. Dropship Breakthru will also teach you everything you'll need to know to grow your business and take it to the next level. So head over to dropshipbreakthru.com and sign up for our free training that will help you take the first steps towards building and growing your own profitable high-ticket dropshipping business.